We're going to get started in just a moment. As you can see here, we have a big show in store, and we are going to get ready to talk some Tennessee Titans as we have the 2020 TNT Season Awards that we're going to give out. And we're going to be giving out stuff like Player of the Year, Dunce of the Year, Breakout Titan for next season, and Favorite Game. So we're going to have all of that and a lot more next, right here on Titans in Truth.
Tighten up! Let's get tightened up! Tightened up! I've been scoping from the sideline, waiting for the right time to send the freshest team to scrimmage. So I'm busting y'all. Welcome to next. We got this here. Don't worry about it. We got this here. These are cities so out here loud and clear. Don't worry about it. See, we got this here. It's a brand new dance and it's about to go live. Tighten up, Nashville, rep the 615. First you tighten two steps, step to the right. Then you tighten two steps, step to the left. Blue jerseys everywhere. Game pace, yeah, we got it all. Sticking out our chest, beating on it like it's King Kong. Count that. It's about to get her up. Here come the train, y'all. Tennessee, tighten up. Let's get tightened up. Tighten up. Let's get tightened up. Sticking out my chest, you know it like it's King Kong. Sticking out my chest, you know it like it's King Kong. You tighten two steps, step to the right. Then you tighten two steps, step to the left. Sticking out my chest, you know it like it's King Kong. Sticking out my chest, you know it like it's King Kong. T-N-T, third down, come around, we about to shut it down.
Good evening, Titan Nation. How's everybody doing? Welcome into a new edition of Titans in Truth. I'm your man, Chris, a.k.a. Blue Enforcer, and we're going to have a good episode on this evening. And we have a lot to get to because, I mean, as much as we all hate to say it, the 2020 season has unfortunately come to a very abrupt end, much to anybody's liking or want at the moment. I mean, I think we all were hoping that we would still be playing some football at this time, but unfortunately we're not. But it's all right because we got the offseason to look forward to, and we definitely have a lot of things in the future in store. So make sure you definitely share this show out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you subscribe to Facebook, TNT Enforcers. Also on Instagram at Titans_in_truth. And as well as on Twitter as well at TNT Blue Enforcer. So I want y'all to go ahead and check that out. And definitely stay tuned for a lot of things that are going to be coming up. And I'm definitely very excited about what's to come with this upcoming offseason. So we see a few people in here. AZ Mick, what's going on with you? We got Drunk Duck, who has come on. Sue the Man, what's going on? Welcome in. Pete Tamales, what's up? We got the Let's Tighten Up podcast up in here. And again, those guys definitely had a really good show yesterday. I was very impressed with those guys. So definitely make sure y'all give a share out to the Let's Tighten Up podcast. And for those guys, I guarantee y'all, I'm going to definitely make sure I have y'all on for the show coming up very soon. Big Dell, my guy, basically comes in and says, my expectation for our boys is we get a DC help on the secondary pass rusher on our defense and help our O-line. Those are adjustments I'm referring to. Big Dell, I appreciate that very much. Jay Burnett, what's going on? Terrence, Edward, what's going on? Jay, appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure y'all, again, share the show out. Spread the word. Let everybody know that we are live and kicking. And we're going to get this show going. So before we start giving out some awards, and remember, this is an interactive show. Y'all are a part of this award show. You know, there are going to be awards, so it's going to be based off of your votes and what y'all think. It's not going to be just totally off of what I think. I have my thoughts on a few, but y'all got to help me out with that. But the first thing that we're going to do is there was something hot that happened after the end of the season press conference. Coach Vrabel gave his end of the season press conference, and of course, maybe shed a little bit of light on Corey Davis, saying that he wasn't able to go, so pretty much he was injured. There were some things as far as maybe the 4th and 2 call, which was very bad, and that was one of the only times. That's the only time anybody's ever punted in that situation where it's 4th and 2 or less, and it's only one score. It's only a 1-score game in the fourth quarter and all of that. And after everything that happened in the press conference, basically from this, maybe from the whole season, a certain individual in the media definitely had some choice words about Coach Vrabel and this season and everything. So this is coming from News 2 in Nashville, a friend of the show, Corey Curtis, and of course, Emily Proud, who I've had in my home in Nashville when I had it as one of their fans of the week. So they were discussing Derrick Henry. They were discussing the Tennessee Titans after the season is over. And this is what Corey Curtis had to say. This is courtesy from Emily Proud from her Twitter, but this is courtesy of WKRN News 2 in Nashville.
I just am.
Going back to the top.
Emily and I texted about it earlier today. I'm about done with Mike Vrabel's attitude. I just am. What were your takeaways from the head coach's comments today? We'll start with him and then we'll go to the players.
You can't just say that and then move on.
Yeah, go ahead and ask me a question.
Elaborate. What?
Ask me. I look. Every time a question is asked, he acts like it's stupid, horrible, dumb, and he's really dismissive of all of them, like we're all beneath him. And I look. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. He hasn't been to a Super Bowl. If you're gonna act that way, win some games. All right, win some more games because I've got no time for it anymore. I'm done. I'm checked out. If you want respect, you got to show some respect. And I don't feel like Mike Vrabel's giving anybody any kind of respect whatsoever. I'm not asking for tears. I'm not asking for pity. I'm just saying I'm done with press conferences that are a waste of my time. That's what I'm done with.
Now, that was Corey Curtis of News Channel 2 in Nashville giving his basically giving his thoughts about Coach Vrabel and how he is in press conferences and how he approaches the media. As far as this is him basically, this is from the entire season. This is not just from the last press conference that just happened. This is basically an entire year of frustration that he and probably some other people in the media have felt as well. And many people in the media have said, one thing about them is that, and myself included, is that we are a gateway between the coach and us, the fans. And, the media tries to ask questions that basically what the fans want to know, what we want to know. And, Corey basically said, you know what? I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. He felt disrespected. And so I want to get y'all thoughts. What are y'all thoughts on what Corey Curtis had to say in regards to Mike Vrabel? I have my thoughts, but I want to hear what some of you guys got to say first in respect to that. Manny Z, what's up? DO9, what's going on? Jameson, welcome on here. He says, what a bummer of an ending to the season. I agree. Edward basically says Corey is absolutely 100% right about Vrabel. So I want to get some of y'all thoughts as we get more people in here, and make sure y'all keep getting those likes up. Smash that like button. Definitely want to make sure we get some likes up on the show, and I'll read some more of your comments as we go. But here's my thoughts on that whole thing. Let's see. Kiki talking about the James Harden trade. I know I heard about Harden getting traded to the Nets. Nets got a good deal, and Houston's getting a haul. So, Houston, they're probably going to rebuild. Let's see. Manny Z says, I agree with Corey. Pete Tamala says, I agree to an extent. Pete, what extent would you like to mention? So, kind of elaborate on that for me. What do you think? But me, I feel like this. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I agree 100%, 1,000% with what Corey Curtis is saying, because I know, and Austin and Zach of A to Z Sports kind of explained it too, in a way this morning on their show. Shout out to them, by the way. And basically what they were saying is that, hey, it's got to be a hard job to. It's got to be a hard job to be able to, deal with going through preparations for a game, and then you got to coach the game, and then you got to talk to the media, and you're talking to the media, 4 or 5 out of 7 days out of every week. I mean, the only time that they do not talk, that the media does not talk to Coach Vrabel is Tuesday and Saturday. Those are the only 2 days that the media does not talk to Coach Vrabel. Any other day of the week, they talk to him every day. And, I think a lot of it had to do with the Zoom call. Zoom could definitely be an issue as a part of the press conference as well, because you kind of don't know their mannerisms or what they're feeling and everything with that. But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I agree 1,000% with what Corey Curtis said. I've been saying that all year. It's like I've said this many times, and y'all know what I'm about to say. Mike Vrabel speaks fluent Belichickian. He's not Bill Belichick, but he has a lot of Bill Belichick tendencies. He does a whole lot of talking, but he's really not saying anything to anybody. He skirts around a lot of questions. And beats around the bush. Sometimes it's like, look, it's okay to be honest with us. Us fans, us podcasters, we want to know. Give us some answer. Quit trying to protect and coddle people. If there's an issue, say it. If the defense stunk, say that. We already think it. You might as well just go in and clarify it for us. But at the same time, it is also a measure of, I cannot put the proper word together, decorum. Okay, that's the word I was thinking. There is a measure of decorum when it comes to that. I don't like the fact that Vrabel does a lot of times act like there are certain questions asked to him that are stupid, that he feels are stupid questions, and he tries to throw it back at a person. Or if you press him hard on something, he doesn't like it when you do that or anything. So, and I mean, I would feel like this, could Mike Vrabel be a bit intimidating? Yes, I mean, he's a big dude. He looks like he's about 6'4", he's about 6'3", 6'4", 260 pounds. Looks like he could run through somebody. But at the same time, there is a way for a media person to ask a question without going too far. But there's also a way Vrabel can answer the question and not make it seem like, that it's the media person's fault for asking their question. And Zach and Austin even broke it down and said, there's probably, other teams. They probably got somebody else watching that particular press conference, trying to see, hey, is Vrabel giving away any secrets or giving away any plans, what they plan to do in the game and stuff like that. So I understand that part to an extent, but at the same time, I feel like this. You could be honest with people without being too honest. You can do that. Yes, there is a way of being too honest and saying a little bit too much, but I would rather at least say more than a little bit. Vrabel gives a little bit. I would at least say a little bit more than that, honestly. So I know a lot of people think that Corey might have been in his feelings or something like that. I understand. I mean, we all as Titan fans should understand, because it's like, I see some of those pictures on Facebook or on Instagram where it's like they have the 4 heads, and it's like you have migraine headache, stress headache, some other type of headache, like where they would be in the part of the brain or in the part of your head. Like you have your stress headache is like in the front of your head or even the back of your head. You have somewhere on the side of your head or a particular area. And then you got the whole face covered up watching Titans football, because that's what type of headache it is. And AZ Mix says it. He doesn't like Paul Kaharski questions, because Paul Kaharski, he don't give a damn. He don't give a damn about your feelings. He is going to come at you. He is going to come at you hard. He's not going to hold back. And that is something that I do respect about Paul Kaharski. And I kind of need to throw a bad blue bombshell on him, because I've tried to get him on the show sometimes in the past, and I could never get a response from him. But you know what? Never give up. I probably say the same thing about my guy MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment. I love his show. I support it. Subscribe to that show if you haven't already. But I've tried to get him on Titans and Truth many times, and I could never get a response from him. I could never get a, hey, I'm tied up, or this is not a good day to do it, or a good time. I don't get anything, but I may. But hey, you know what they say. If at first you don't succeed, try again. That's all we could do. But I agree a lot with what Corey has to say. Let's read some comments. Mr. Titan is in here. Says, what's up? Hope all is well, ready for the show. Hey, I hope you are doing better, Mr. Titan, after everything you had to deal with COVID and everything with that. So again, prayers to Mr. Titan's family, that they get through the COVID and dealing with all of that. Much praise to you. Let's see. I'm going to go back and read a couple of comments. Let's see. Terrence Young says, Vrabel's going to be Vrabel. Corey is right. AZ Big says, I agree too. Jameson comes in and says, Coach Vrabel's ego is sometimes very frustrating from a Titans fan point of view. And I have said that quite a few times too. Vrabel can come off as very arrogant. He can be very arrogant and has a big ego. And I think all of us at one time or another can tend to have the big head every once in a while. I do too sometimes. I'm going to call myself out. Sometimes I get the big head. Sometimes I can be a little cocky from time to time. Of course, if my wife is listening to the show, she'll probably yell and say, yep, you're not modest. Modesty is something you don't have, which I'm pretty sure I can hear her now saying that. So I mean, sometimes that can happen, but Vrabel tends to show that more often than not. Let's see. DO9 says, I feel the same way because he's trying to act like Belichick, like he won a Super Bowl. He don't never answer the questions that's asked to him. He always talks around it. Let's see. Boston Titan is in here. And here's Pete trying to elaborate on what he was talking about. He says, I feel like he's the one in the locker room. He knows more than us. They know more than us as far as what's going on in there. I agree he needs to be more open with questions, but maybe they have to where they don't want to say too much. And I understand that. What's up, Reggie B? I understand that. I understand you don't want to give out too much information, but sometimes you gotta toss a dog a bone. Throw us a little carrot, at least. Terry Young said, just let PK ask them the question. Yeah, because like I said, Paul Kaharski's cutthroat. AZ Mix is talking with no information. Let's see, we got Over Chicken. And here says, Arthur Smith seconds away from getting hired by Atlanta. Sad he was a great OC. And that was something that I heard from Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network. He had a second interview today with Atlanta. He's going to New York tonight for dinner. I think he's flying to New York tonight, if I'm not mistaken, for dinner with the Jets. And then is on tap to interview for the Eagles head coaching job tomorrow. And the Lions want to give him a second interview as well. I'm trying to read that tweet from Ian Rappaport. So I'm trying to actually pull that up right now. Let's see. Give me just a second. Let's see. Yeah, he says it. This is from Ian Rappaport about an hour ago. Falcons had a second interview today with Arthur Smith, who then flew to New York to have dinner tonight with Jets brass. Source tell me and Tom Pelissero. Up for Smith next. Thursday, he has an interview with the Eagles. And then on Friday, a second interview with the Detroit Lions. So right now, Arthur Smith is hot. Arthur Smith is a hot commodity at the moment. Let's see. Kiki says, got Corey going to the Bears. I can see Corey going to the Bears. I think Titan Upload has mentioned that before, basically saying, he's, Corey's from Illinois, from the Illinois area. He would be closer to home, closer to his family. AZ Mick thinks Corey's going to the Colts. I hope not. Let's see. Jameson says he was good, but that last game he sucked. Past Packers game also. We need an OC who will want to stay and not think about a head coaching job. Let's see. DO9 says Arthur was okay. He never adjusts. He always runs the same plays. Never opens up the playbook. I would tend to disagree with that most of the time. I mean, I think Arthur, he tries to open it up, but sometimes he does get a little too cute. Sometimes it's good to stick with what works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's something that you have to be aggressive at times. So that's something that you have to do. So let's see. Boston Titan says ego will hurt him in the long run if not winning. I agree. And I've said that before too. Vrabel's arrogance could destroy the Titans in the long run. So Vrabel better quit with all this arrogance, thinking he's all better than everybody else and nobody else knows anything. So, I mean, I think it's just a matter of respect. That's all I think that Corey is trying to say. And Mr. Titan says, I posted earlier on Twitter, wouldn't mind having Clowney back, maybe for $7 million. And people would get upset because I said that. I mean, for the right price, I probably wouldn't mind Clowney coming back. Because, I mean, like I said, Clowney at least tried. He at least gave some effort. He acted like he gave a damn. which is more than what we could say for Vic Beasley. And let's see. Edward says, I pray the OC is not from in-house. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. I would not be surprised if Pat O'Hara or Tony Dews is the next offensive coordinator, probably for continuity's sake. But I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring somebody in from the outside to give a better perspective, maybe somebody from Ohio State that he knows. Remember, he tried to bring Ryan Day to be the offensive coordinator before he took the head coaching job in Houston. At Ohio State. And of course, I'm happy to hear Ohio State got their butts kicked in the national championship because they shouldn't have been there anyway. So that's that on that. But again, I don't disagree with what Corey had to say. I think he was right on a lot of things. And Vrabel needs to quit with this I know more than all of you ego. Sometimes, yes, we do. You're the head coach. You know a lot. Obviously, if you know so much, how come the defense sucked all year? And how come you just didn't name Shane Bowen the defensive coordinator in the first place? Why did he do that? Because he was trying to protect Shane. Because all of us was looking at who do we blame for the defense sucking so bad. And Vrabel didn't want to throw Shane Bowen under the bus and say, you know what, hey, Shane's the defensive coordinator, talk to him. But that's something that Vrabel has to do. Vrabel needs to just hire a defensive coordinator and say, you know what? He is our defensive coordinator. He's going to be running it, and that's that on that. That's all he has to do. And AZ Mix says, I hope they don't promote Shane Bowen, the defensive coordinator, with the actual title. I hope not either, but it would not shock me. It would not surprise me if Vrabel did that. Because Vrabel can be that stupid from time to time. Instead of going outside, he thinks he knows everything. And he's like, well, you know what? It was just one bad year. We'll bounce back and give Shane another shot. I hope not either. So that's what I got to think of on that. But now let's get back to the awards show that we're here to talk about. The 2020 season awards, our fourth annual season awards. And I'm going to try to put out this. I'm going to put this out. Give me just a moment. I have the categories of all of the awards that are going to be given out tonight. And so I'm just going to pop that on the screen for you. So give me just give me 10 seconds and I can put it up there for you. And this is basically what we're going to be giving out. These are the awards for tonight. We have, of course, the Two-Tone Blue Star of the Year. We have the Dunce of the Year. And I put besides Isaiah Wilson on here because, look, we all know Isaiah Wilson is the Dunce of the Year. He has been probably the worst Tennessee Titans draft pick in history of this franchise. Stunk all the way around and hadn't even stepped on the field much. Now, also, we're going to be giving out Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. I know there's probably not many guys that deserve Defensive Player of the Year, if any. And then, of course, we're going to have the 2021 Breakout Titan. And for that is, which player do you think will break out next season and have a very, very good year with that? So, and also I threw in an extra category, and that would be favorite game from this season. What was the favorite game that you watched? And you can't say all of them. I know we all enjoyed every game, almost every game except the ones we lost. But what was your favorite game from the season. That's going to be one of the last ones. So those are the award categories that we're going to give out tonight. And so first things first that we're going to do is let's start off with something that's a little bit easy. Let's go with the defensive player of the year. Who was the best player defensively? As we know, this defense really stunk in every possible way. Who was the best defensive player that we had this season? Was it Jayon Brown before he went down with an injury? Was it Jeffrey Simmons? I see some people already coming in with Amani Hooker or Malcolm Butler as well. Would you also even maybe possibly include Harold Landry in the conversation? David Long could get some looks as well, because David Long played very well in replacing Jayon Brown. And he basically was telling the coaches, hey, y'all don't need to re-sign Jayon Brown. You got his replacement right here. So let's see. We're going to read a few comments. And y'all keep continuing to comment on as I read them. Let's see. Yes, over chicken, that's right. Who do you believe should be the winner? That's what I'm saying. Who do you believe on that? Let's tighten up podcast. You're right. The Two-Tone Blue Star of the Year, I think, is pretty academic. I think we know who that is, and we're not going to go any further than that. And we'll definitely go. Sue the Man says Malcolm Butler. Kiki says Malcolm Butler. Tighten Up Pod says Amani Hooker. DO9 says Butler. Terrence says Butler. AZ Mix says Butler. Let's see. Bald and Bearded says Jayon Brown. I like that. Boston Titan says Butler. Let's see. Reggie B says Long. David Long. Okay. Edward says Malcolm Butler. Tighten Up says Malcolm Butler. Over Chicken is mentioning let's see. Over Chicken says Malcolm Butler. Let's see. Well, a lot of people are heading in that direction. DO9 says Long for honorable mention. I could definitely see that. Devin K says, what's up with Corey Davis? I don't know. Not sure exactly what's going on. I know he was hurt in the last game, so that's why he wasn't in there. Over Chicken says Breon Borders too. We're going to talk about him a little bit as well. But it looks like the defensive player of the year, by your votes, is going to be Malcolm Butler, the good cornerback who I think we all at the beginning of the year was like, yeah, we could, we could get rid of him at the end of the year. He'll end up being a cap casualty. He'll be a cap casualty going into next season because he's going to be owed around $12, $13 million next season. And with Butler playing pretty well for most part of the year, you might have to hold on to him. Maybe you could talk him into taking a little less money, but at the same time, you're probably looking at Malcolm Butler sticking around at that same amount. He had 100 tackles. 4 interceptions on the year. That's actually a pretty decent year for Malcolm Butler, to be perfectly honest. And I was surprised a lot of people did not think of Jeffrey Simmons. Bald and Bearded says, shout out from Cordova by way of Frazier. Hey, let me see. Okay, so Bald and Bearded, you're in the Bay Area now. Okay, yeah, I'm in Cordova myself, actually. That's where I reside. So shout out to Bald and Bearded. Manny Z said Jeffrey Simmons. Let's tighten up. Says Simmons was for the first half of the season, disappeared some late after Clowney went out. I agree. Simmons did kind of disappear as the year went on. He started off hot and was looking like he could be a major player, but then things kind of went down for him. And again, I've already said it. Jeffrey Simmons needs a running mate. He needs a legit, dominant defensive tackle to go beside him. Or if you keep Daquan Jones at the nose, you have Jeffrey Simmons a nose and another guy on the other side as a defensive tackle, defensive end that could go along with Simmons, and they could terrorize from the interior. So he needs a running mate. Jarrell Casey was that running mate until he got traded. But now Jeffrey Simmons needs a younger running mate to run with him or something like that. Jeffrey Simmons had 49 tackles, 3 sacks, and he forced a fumble. So, I mean, Big Jeff, I think, could do a lot of major things well, but he can't do it alone. So he does need some help. Let's see. Baldwin Bearded said next door to Shelby Farms. Okay, so you're not far from me. Okay. We'll have to chop it up then. We'll definitely have to chop it up. I'm not far from there at all. Let's see. Dio9 says Simmons didn't make enough plays. Grew up in Fraser. Okay, yeah, he grew up in the Bay. Hey, I'm Cordova by way of Whitehaven. That's where I grew up. Let's see. I think we should move. Dio9 says I think we should move to a 4-3 defense. That wouldn't be a bad idea either. I would say you would have Rashawn Evans in the middle. You could have David Long and Jayon Brown on the outside. You could have Landry Simmons down. You could have another defensive end like a J.J. Watt or something on the other side. And then you have another tackle. Obviously, I don't think they'll get J.J. Watt. I'm just giving an idea. Let's see. Edward says it's hard. It always gets hard to try to be double teams. That's true. AZ Mix says, bring in Lovie Smith, go back to a 4-3. The Titans were very successful as a 4-3 defense. I do agree with that. The Titans back in the day, their 4-3 defense was extremely successful back in the day. Jim Schwartz is taking some time away. That's another guy I wouldn't mind bringing in here. Oh, okay. Let's Tighten Up podcast is out here too. Man. And I heard y'all show last night. I'm like, I see. I think some link ups are going to be happening after COVID is over. That much is a possibility. I definitely see that. We all are going to have to do something with the Titans fan club of Memphis here. I think that's something that we should definitely do. We all should do that if we don't already have a big show. Let's tighten up. Bald and bearded. We gonna talk. We are going to talk. Make sure y'all off of this comment, send me y'all email addresses or your Facebook page and everything so we can converse there. We'll definitely do that. But let's keep moving on. Let's see. Pete says, I think Fulton could have had a good season if healthy. That's true. All right. So we gave out our defensive player of the year. Let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Who is your offensive player of the year? And I'm going to say this. Do not pick the obvious one. We know that person is going to be, looks like is going to win MVP straight out. But who else could be the offensive player of the year? I'm talking Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis. Who else could we put in there? Roger Saffold, who was pretty solid as an offensive lineman. So who of those guys could you put as the offensive player of the year? We know who the MVP is. We know who the MVP is. Obviously. I think that's a pretty easy one to give out. But I'm talking about giving some other guys some love. So let's see. Obviously, Kiki go with Derrick Henry. We know. But But Kiki says A.J. Brown. Dion says A.J. Over Chicken going with Tannehill. Edward going with A.J. Let's see. Sue the Man says Tannehill. Baldwin Bearded says Tannehill. AZ Mix says Arthur Juan Brown. George Porter coming in here. What's going on? Says Tannehill. Manny Z says AJ Brown. Vibe Runner says AJ. Let's see. Dio9 says Tannehill let us down every big game. Wow. Ian comes in and says the O-line coach. The O-line coach. He had his line right after we had so many injuries at those positions. They held it down for the King. Now, I will give it to Keith Carter. I will give him some credit because there was a time that a lot of us, myself included, wanted Keith Carter fired because the offensive line was just bad. But I do have to give Keith Carter a lot of credit because, with what we had to do with this offensive line, you lose Taylor Lewan for the year in the first Houston game. Ty Sambrailo comes in, does a pretty decent job. Then he goes down with an injury. And then David Questenberry, your third tackle, has to come in and play throughout the rest of the year. Where if a certain dumb, idiotic first-round draft pick tackle had not been doing a bunch of nonsense, we probably wouldn't be in this situation. We probably already would have had our tackle of the future already in. Isaiah Wilson would have had a golden opportunity, but he squandered it. But Keith Carter did it with having to play 3 tackles. At times, Roger Saffold and Ben Jones had issues, and Aaron Brewer had to come in. And Aaron Brewer did a pretty serviceable job when he had to do some spot duty at times. So I have to give Keith Carter some credit. He has done a pretty good job with this offensive line. Over Chicken says Tannehill. Edward Lede said thought about Nate Davis. Boston says AJ. Jonnu showed up as well, Baldwin Bearded said. Jonnu didn't get enough, honestly. He had the touchdowns, but that was about it. But I think, obviously, the offensive player of the year, I think, in my opinion, with everybody's votes, has to be one Mr. Arthur Juan Downtown Brown. A.J. Brown has to be the Titans offensive player of the year. This cat, 70 catches, 1,075 yards, 11 touchdowns. A.J. Brown clearly is our number 1 receiver, but he's got to get healthy because he seemed to be bothered with the ankle and the leg from week 1, and he played pretty much the entire year on that ankle. So shout out to A.J. Brown as the offensive player of the year. Definitely will give some love to Tannehill because he did lead us to some big wins. He led us to wins over Indianapolis. He led us to a victory over Baltimore, even though Derrick Henry ran a touchdown. Brought us back against Pittsburgh. Him and Derrick Henry brought us back against Pittsburgh. Tannehill nearly completed the comeback against Cleveland if our defense hadn't sucked as bad as it did. So there were some good moments from Tannehill as well. So, and his offense was top 10. Really top 5. Don't know if we'll repeat that. But again, we were a top-line offense. Let's go a little different now. Who would be the 2021 breakout player to watch? Breakout Titan to watch. Let's Tighten Up podcast already mentioned Amani Hooker. Excuse me. But who do you think is a player that the Tennessee Titans need to, really watch out to break out and have a good year next season? I mean, Let's Tighten Up Podcast already mentioned Amani Hooker is a guy. Christian Fulton. Could any of our draft picks make any type of contribution? Darrington Evans. Could he be a guy that could spare Derrick Henry? Is it, Nate Davis continues his climb, maybe becomes a Pro Bowler at some point. So, does David Long solidify himself as the starting linebacker? So, who do you feel? Also, someone mentioned Breon Borders. Could Breon Borders end up earning himself a real starting spot? Because Breon Borders, with the exception of that Cleveland game, I think none of us can lie and say Breon Borders played extremely well. Besides that Cleveland game, Breon Borders did a whole lot more than anybody could have anticipated. Breon Borders did a lot of good. So let's take a look. And there's really not any winner here, but these are just guys that we're looking out for that could be a breakout player. Let's see. Over Chicken says Armani Hooker has Armani. Sue says he should start over for Caro. AZ Mick, Wheezy, all going with David Long Jr. Ian says Armani Hooker and Darrington Evans are guys to watch out for. Terrence says David Long. Bald and Bearded says Desmond King. And now he's a free agent. We got to see if we're going to re-sign him. He may not be fast, but he could be like a Logan Ryan type. And he could probably help on punt return as well. Kiki says Raymond. I don't know if Khalif Raymond is going to break out. He's going to be at best your fourth or fifth receiver. So I don't know if he'll break out. Darrington Evans from Tighten Up Pod. Let's Tighten Up Pod saying factoring in special teams. Yes, he did definitely show some decent return ability, especially on kick return. So that was something that was very promising. Let's see. Sudaman says Tannehill did good against Pitt and Cleveland. His teammates were bad. In most instances, that is correct. Let's see. Boston Titan says Evans, if healthy all year. Darrington Evans. Okay, I was going to say, not Rashawn Evans, because Rashawn Evans needs to stop with dumb penalties. But I see a lot of people talking about Amani Hooker. A lot of people are talking David Long Jr. Let's see. Pete says Long and Fulton. If Fulton can stay healthy, I think he could definitely do some good. Let's see. Edward saying Crookshank. I don't know. I don't know about Crookshank. I think Crookshank will be no more than just a special teams player. We'll definitely see about that. But that's definitely a lot of guys. Ian Talley says, yeah, Borders very serviceable. He just misread that route in the Cleveland game. And I agree. For the most part, Borders did very well because he had, I want to say against Indianapolis, he had one interception. And if he had not already been running toward the end zone in his mind, he had a pick six in his hand in that game as well. So that's something there. But it looks like most people are saying that a breakout player is going to be Amani Hooker or David Long Jr. And I like both of those. I definitely like both of those. Let's see. Weezy says, I want to see a healthy Derek Roberson. Money Cartel says, I think Tier Tart has a bright future. And that's another guy I wouldn't mind mentioning. Tier Tart did a few good things as well. And I'm trying to look him up as far as his, I want to see his size because I want to see if he could play. Okay, 6'2", 304. He's a defensive tackle. He could probably play at the nose or on the other side. Tier Tart did have some nastiness to him. And he had a few pass rush moves. I think with a full offseason, if he's a full-time starter, Tier Tart could do a lot of good. I'm not even going to lie about that. Let's see. If we keep Jay on, we need to let Rashawn go. It hurts me to say that, Wheezy says. Hope we keep Desmond King too. I think a lot of people have said we need to get rid of Rashawn Evans. I would try to trade Rashawn. I say, you know what? Go with Jayon and David Long as your linebackers. You may give up a little bit in the run game, but you get a whole lot of that back in the pass game because both of those guys are fast enough to cover. And that's something that you need. Sudaman said we should let Jonnu and Corey go. I say we should keep Jonnu for a lower price. Sudaman says I want Ojulari or Osai. I know about Osai from Texas. I'm going to do some research on him. I'm probably going to start doing some draft stuff maybe around the Senior Bowl later this month. So I may do a little bit of looking at that, looking at some possible players that we could be looking at coming up. So we're going to definitely keep going with that. But I definitely like breakout players being David Long, Amani Hooker, and I'm even going to throw Christian Fulton in there as well. Tierre Tart is another, and we'll see if Breon Borders definitely gets more time. But now I'm going to go with an obvious award, and that is the Two-Tone Blue Star of the Year or MVP. And I think it is pretty easy who we all will give this particular award to. I think it goes without saying. It's really no need of asking who do you think, because I think we all know the answer to this question. And it's pretty darn simple. Long live the king. Long live the king. I think that's pretty darn easy to go with. And I think we're all going to agree with that. FJ Austin, awesome. What's going on? Welcome in here and everything. So I think it's pretty easy. The Two-Tone Blue Star of the Year is definitely the king, Derrick freaking Henry. Long live the king. Because he made many teams bend the knee. And that's what we're going to continue doing. And I like this. Mr. Titan says, I believe the award goes to you, Truth. You are the man, brother. Hey, I appreciate that very much. Mr. Titan. But also, I give a shout out to you. I mean, you're beating COVID. You're doing extremely well. You know, you've taken YouTube by storm and just have went berserk with everything that you're doing with your Mr. Titan show, with your Cage Talk show. Very, very cool. Very, very impressive indeed. So, Sudaman says, how is it not Rashawn Evans? No, but that might be in the next category that I talk about. But I think we all would say the king, Derrick Henry. Wheezy says, let's trade for number 53, Darius Leonard. I know that was for kicks and giggles. Because, I mean, first off, Darius Leonard ain't leaving the Colts. And number two, even if he was available, the Colts are not trading within division. So, let's see. Sudaman says, I hope our draft class can prove us wrong this coming year. I hope so too, because we really got nothing out of this draft class. And I hope that changes and we get something out of this draft class. But as I always know from me, whenever there is a star of the year, there is also a dunce. Who, mind you, who would you say is your dunce of the year? And again, we're not including Isaiah Wilson in this conversation because pretty much he is the dunce. He is the dunce of the franchise. He is the dunce of Titan franchise history, pretty much, with how dumb and pathetic he's been. But we're talking about on the field. who could be the dunce of the year. I think AZ Mix says Rashawn Evans. Kiki saying Corey Davis. I don't think I would say that. I mean, the guy had his most productive season ever, even though his last 2 games left a lot to be desired. Let's see. FJ also says, honestly, we could be better as an offense. We have to get Henry in space when the run is shut down. Let's see. I could definitely understand where you're coming from that. I could definitely see what you're saying. Over Chicken says Vic Beasley. And yeah, I mean, he's definitely a nominee. Rashawn Evans, Vic Beasley. I'm trying to think of who else could be a possible nominee. I would say, I mean, even though it's not his fault, Adam Humphries could be a dunce of the year. As much as I love Kevin Byard could be a dunce of the year nominee because he had a very bad year. Dory could be dunce of the year because he had a bad couple of games coming back. But I definitely like that. Rocky Yit says Rashawn Evans has cost us a few times this year. A lot of people say Evans. Boston Titan says Anthony Midget, our secondary coach. Vibe Runner says Evans. Let's Tie the Podcast says KB. Sue the Man says Byard. Let's see. Let's Tie the Podcast says Rashawn Evans. All those penalties. He was the most penalized Titan. That much is true. Sue says Byard got paid too much. Pete says Vrabel. Money Cartel says Vrabel and John. Let's see. Jameson says, hate to say this, but KB. Mr. Titan says Jonathan Joseph. I didn't even think about that either. As he gave so much to Byard, and all he did was tackle. Let's see. Rocky says Arthur Smith deserves to be a nominee for that awful game. Now, I said Two-Tone Blue. I said dunce of the year, not of the day, even though, I would definitely say that. Bob Runner says, second thought, I'd say Vrabel. Kiki says the Ravens logo. I would definitely say some honorable mentions. Definitely would have to be Kevin Byard. I would definitely say Dory is a honorable mention. Vrabel definitely deserves some consideration, without a doubt. I give him that. But I'm going to say the Two-Tone Blue dunces of the year has got to be Rashawn Evans for being penalized so much and just not doing well at all. And also, you got to say it, Vic Beasley. Vic Beasley definitely is a dunce of the year because all he did was steal money. And that's exactly what he did. He stole $9 million from the Tennessee Titans. He stole that money. He didn't give a damn about playing football. This dude shows up 10 days late to camp and then does absolutely nothing when he's got given the opportunity. Did nothing whatsoever. So, dunces of the year, Rashawn Evans and Vic Beasley. Plain and simple. Kiki says dunce of the NFL is Juju. Wow. But yes, Beasley. Ian says Beasley's name shouldn't ever be mentioned again after this show. And I don't think he will be mentioned ever again after this show because he is an idiot that is gone. Plain and simple. So, and for Vic Beasley being signed, I'm going to give another honorable mention to Mike Vrabel and John Robinson. Robinson deserves a lot of blame for that horrific offseason last year as well. J-Rob does deserve some dunce of the year consideration because He struck out with Klein. He struck out with Vic Beasley. Didn't sign Logan Ryan. Had a horrible draft class. So J-Rob does deserve some dunce of the day thought. Let's see. I say Vrabel and John because they always try to outsmart everyone, but we really need a defensive coordinator. True. Over Chicken says, kind of sucked we traded Correa because like 1 week later, we could have played him more. True. Courtney Jackson saying Isaiah Wilson, well, we know he's done to the year. We're not talking about him. We're talking about guys on the field. Let's see. But yes, done to the year. Beasley and Rashaan Evans. Now, last but not least, favorite game from this past season. And there are definitely some good nominees for that. I would say the Bills game after COVID was a good game. Even though we lost the game against the Steelers, we made a comeback. The second game against the Colts, I would say the first Texan game. Either of the Texan games is definitely one to think about as well. So, which game was your favorite? There's no winner. We're just going to talk about it a little bit. Let's see. Kiki says Steelers, the Steeler game. AZ Mix says the Bills game. Pete says beating the Ravens. Sue says the Ravens. Let's see. FJ also says beating the Colts. Let's see. Let's Tighten Up says second Colt game was lovely. I agree. Let's see. AZ Mix says Bills. Ian Talley says the games against Buffalo and the second Colt game. Let's see. Over Chicken says regular season game against the Ravens. I definitely like a lot of the comments. Money Cartel says beating the Colts for me because we always lose to them. I'm going to say my top 3 favorite games definitely will have to be the Bills game after COVID. And this is in no particular order. The Colts game the second time and that Ravens game. I do agree. And I was going to say the Steeler game would be number 4 if I had to choose a fourth game. And then that first Texan victory would be number 5. I think all of those games were some of the most entertaining games to me that there were. So I definitely enjoyed those 5 games. The Bills, the Steelers, even though we lost, the second time we beat the Colts, the first time we beat Houston, and Baltimore. Those are my top 5 in no particular order. Let's see. Kiki said Juju knew not to dance on our stuff. True. FJ also says the Colt game at least gave us a chance to win the division, which we did, although we squandered it in the end. But I enjoyed those games, definitely. I had a lot of fun with that. So, y'all, I want to wrap up this show by first of all saying thank you to everybody for an amazing 2020 season. Despite COVID, we still had a lot of good shows. 170 episodes strong, ready to get close to 200. And help me get to 1,000, y'all. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers. Make sure y'all continue to spread this show out to everybody. There's going to be some new things coming up. Some new looks could be on the way and some things like that. And this channel is going to expand. I'm going to have more guests coming at times as well. So there will be some guests from other teams. I may try to see if I can get some beat writers and reporters from other teams as the year goes on. And also maybe get some podcasters from other teams as we talk about certain games. Maybe some of the big games we have coming up next year. And speaking of which, last but not least, here are, and this is going to be a little cut off, the opponents for next season. Let me take this off of here. All right, there we go. So these are our 2020 opponents. We have Buffalo at home, Arizona, Kansas City, the Colts, obviously, the Dolphins, the 49ers, the Texans, and the Jags. So we got a stacked home schedule. Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Tua, Jimmy Garoppolo, they're all coming here. On the road, of course, we go to Indy, we go to Jacksonville, we go to Houston. But we also are going to New York to play the Jets. We're going to New England. We're going out to LA to play the Rams and up to Seattle to play the Seahawks and going up to Pittsburgh. So we may have a chance for revenge. And I would say one road game that I am thinking about going, well, there's two. There's two particular, well, maybe three that I'm thinking about going to. The Colts game is one. If COVID forbids, if COVID goes away, the Colts is one road game I'm thinking of going to. The Steelers is another, and Houston is another. Those are the three road games that I'm thinking about going to, and I may choose one of the three. And Pittsburgh could be the one because I know a lot of Steeler fans here in Memphis. One of my best friends is a Steelers fan. So perhaps that might be a road trip that I may plan to take, is going to Pittsburgh or flying up there for the game. Another game is Houston. I'm thinking about. So that might be another game. Get down, kick it with my guy Ken Moore. So those are our 2020 opponents for next year. 2021 opponents. But again, y'all, I appreciate all of y'all for this entire year. Trust me when I tell you this is not over by any means. I am probably going to step away for a couple of weeks. I'm probably going to there will probably be some small snippet shows that I record and just put out. They won't be maybe live shows, but I will probably put out a few snippets. I may put out some mock drafts. I may put out maybe a quick Titans one-round mock draft as far as maybe who I see taking at 22. Just maybe talk a little bit about that particular pick and stuff like that. So that's something that that's some things that's going to be coming around the bend. Probably will do a live show talking about the Super Bowl. That's something that's going to be coming up. And obviously, we'll definitely start really gearing up once the Senior Bowl happens, the Combine goes on, and going into the draft and free agency, we'll be getting back revved up. So I'm probably going to take a few weeks off just to kind of get some things together to make even a bigger and better show for all of you. So I thank y'all so much for everything. Boston Titan, I appreciate y'all. Kahi Steele, what's up with you? Says, can't wait for next year for Ryan to get revenge on the Dolphins. I could definitely see that. Remember, I want to say there is one more opponent. New Orleans could be that 17th opponent. So that could be something there as well. Over Chicken says, I live in Washington State, so I might be able to go to the Seahawks game. Well, what's up, man? I appreciate you checking in from Washington State, the Great North. I got to come up there and do some seafood. I got to definitely try some seafood up there. I hear Seattle is an amazing city. Let's see. Before we get out of here, let's see. Parwan Kami says, enjoy your off season. Says, enjoy your off season. Your fluke season last year will never happen again. Look, I appreciate all fans coming in here. This season was not a fluke. We built on 9-7. We won the division, and we coming back for more. I don't know what team you're a fan of, but we still gonna tighten up no matter what. Vibe Runner says, thanks for the content. I appreciate y'all. Rocky says, great show as always. Remember, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just stepping back for a minute, putting some things together to make it better. So don't think that I'm just going to go and the next time you see me is like 4 or 5 months later. Oh, hell no. Hell no. And there are going to be some times I'm going to be with Titan Upload, with Mr. Titan, with Ken Moore, the Let's Tighten Up crew, Two Tone Zone. You'll probably be still seeing some more of me, and I'm probably going to do some little small things. I may talk with TD. Maybe we do a show, and I might pick his brain and see how does he come up with his whiteboard Wednesday. That might be something that I might do as well. So definitely be on the lookout for some content coming around the way. Over Chicken says, you and Titan Upload are the best. I appreciate that. AZ Mix says, great content. I appreciate that. But again, I thank y'all for everything. I hope next season, with everything that happens, I get to be up with my Titans fan club of Memphis at Indigo and be there every Sunday that I'm not at a Titans game. I am praying that COVID passes, that I will be able to do that. So Jameson says, thank you for the great year, in content and everything. Hey, I appreciate that. But again, help me get to 1,000, y'all. Help me get to 1,000. I'm right at about 800. And I will say this. I will do a big giveaway for the 1,000th subscriber. I will do that. I had the mask giveaways earlier this year. I'm probably going to be working on getting some apparel, some shirts made again, some shirts. Y'all saw me if I had on a hoodie or a shirt. I'm probably going to have some different shirts and stuff made. So definitely thinking about doing some giveaways definitely coming up. So thank y'all for tuning in to the show. FG, thank you. FJ, awesome. Thank you. Appreciate everybody. And I will be seeing y'all very soon. Again, I'm not going anywhere. More stuff is going to be coming in the near future. Thank y'all for tuning in. And we're going to sign off with my song, with one of my songs. And remember, we do this. Why? Because it's all we know how to do. I appreciate y'all. Blue fire to my brother. Tighten up, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. More is coming. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good night. Tighten up, y'all.